Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are at. I am the K in the BAK Talk Bros. I expect Gooch and Aaron to be with us as well as we do our preview for the Rams coming to Arrowhead, Super Bowl champion Rams, rather, coming to Arrowhead to face the Chiefs. And so we will do a little bit of preview for this game. I'm not sure it takes the preview that a lot of the games take, but we'll see. So we'll get the guys in there. We'll give our preview for the game, and then we'll be sure to hit the Q&A in the chat. And we're kind of setting a time limit for this one. We're only going to go till about 1:30 or so. And so everybody's a little tired from the holiday weekend. And to be honest, some of us got messed up on what day it was, especially with all the college football yesterday and everything. And so, yeah. So with that said, want to welcome everybody who's with us. We know we have people from all over the world. We thank you guys. See that Holly, our moderator, is with us. Holly, glad that you're with us. Frankie, FLDV. Frankie has his own channel as well, guys. Be sure to check him out. And so, yeah, Aaron was in the studio, and then when I clicked on the scheduled thing, he didn't follow me. You guys know how Gooch is. He'll drop in unannounced, parachuting in from the sky from his private jet, and he will make it here with us one way or the other at one point or the other. Last we talked to Gooch, he was in enemy territory, Orchard Park, New York, home of the Buffalo Bills. So, yeah, hopefully he's still alive. Hopefully he hasn't had the traumatic experience of seeing people jump through tables. They exist. I am still looking to find that decent Bills fan out there. So if you guys know of one, please let me know in the chat. Most of them are brain dead or just arrogant jerks. Like, and I don't want to get on a tangent here, but it's like Bills fans get mad at Chiefs fans for not showing them respect because they beat us by 4 points in a regular season game. And it's like last year you beat us by 18 in a regular season game and you lost to us in the playoffs. The year before that, you lost to us in the playoffs. I don't care what you do in the regular season. Just like you don't care that the Jets beat you in a regular season game, or you don't care that the Dolphins beat you in a regular season game, you're not going to care until they beat you in the playoffs. And I'm not saying the Bills can't beat us in the playoffs, but they haven't beat us in the playoffs. So don't expect me to respect your team when you don't respect my team because you beat them in a regular season game. Wait until you beat the Chiefs in a playoff game and then become an arrogant jackass, because until then I really don't care. Hey, good for you. You beat us in the regular season. Now do it in the playoffs because I don't care otherwise. Anyway, so little rant there, but I get on Twitter and then I get stirred up a little bit, and I'm sick of dealing with Bills fans who think that Chiefs fans need to show more respect when their team hasn't even beaten us in the playoffs yet, and they failed to show us respect, despite the fact that Mahomes goes up against their top defense every time we play, and they get to go up against Spags defense. And that's no offense to our players. But the reality is, it's like me bragging about beating my 8-year-old kid in Madden when I have myself on the lowest difficulty setting and I have my son on all Madden. So excuse the hell out of me if I find it annoying that you want to compare Josh Allen playing against our defense to Patrick Mahomes playing against your defense. Sorry. Okay. We are talking about Rams at Chiefs. Hopefully, Aaron and Gooch come in and rescue me from this tangent. So, yeah. Holly says she's going to be at the game tomorrow bringing Jack Stack. I don't know if there's any tailgating purists out there who have a problem with people bringing outside barbecue. Is that a thing? Am I inventing a pitchfork meeting for Holly here? People don't really care, do they? I doubt it. I doubt it, Holly. I'm pretty sure that the tailgating experience is always a great positive experience. So FLDB says Bills fans should be upset with the coaching staff for not resting Josh Allen. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of teams out there. Well, maybe not a lot, but I think there's a decent amount of teams out there that could or should be mad at their teams for not resting guys, right? Like we saw in week 2 that Brendan Staley, and we talked about this, I think, in our post game, was treating this like it was a playoff game, like all throughout the game, but including his franchise quarterback getting hurt and him continuing to play the kid. And it's like, I mean, this is insane. Week 2, it is your second game of the season. Your kid has a rib injury, and instead of being cautious, you're playing him. Jamar Chase isn't playing this weekend. He likely comes back against the Chiefs next weekend because that's what every team's good players do when they're injured. They come back to play the week that the Chiefs are their opponents. I really hope for his sake that, and it feels weird to have concern for other teams' players, but I really hope for his sake that nothing bad happens. We saw Mike Williams last week come back from his injury, his high ankle sprain, and he rushed his timeline, right? It's a minimum of 4 weeks generally for that high ankle sprain, and a lot of times it can be 6 to 8 weeks. And we didn't even see a full quarter, did we? I just remember the one catch, and he had to go up in the air to get that catch. And when you jump up and down, I don't know that people really understand this, like intentionally thinking through it. But when you jump up and down, the impact on your body is like 1.5 to 2 times your weight on those lower joints and stuff. And so you have a high ankle sprain. He's not fully healed from it. There is no way he was fully healed from it in that timeline. And Mike Williams is not a small guy by any means. He goes up to get that catch and he comes down, and we never see him again in the game. Like, it's dumb. I understand that for whatever reason, maybe it's Staley playing like he's going to lose his job because there's apparently a great chance he loses his job. But put player safety first. Someone said it best on Twitter. It's like, after all of this talk of player safety, after the whole Tua thing, we've seen nothing but like boneheaded coaching decisions on player health. And I would throw out there, we've seen a lot of stupid no calls by refs after the Tua situation when it comes to personal fouls and protecting players. So, yeah, I mean, you want to talk about player health, then show that you actually care about player health. And so I'm with you. Players like Josh Allen, players like Jamar Chase, players like Patrick Mahomes, especially when these kind of guys get injured, as competitive as they are, as athletic freaks as they are, meaning they're athletes and they have freakish things about them as athletes. You can't go halfway. And I'm not just saying this because this is my mentality as well, because I'm not nearly as athletic as them, although relative to my body type and stuff, I certainly am. But I've never had a halfway gear. It's always been always or nothing. And I'm pretty sure these guys are super competitive, so I doubt that they have anything else. Like, they don't have the in between either. I'm pretty sure it's probably, they might not even have the nothing. It's probably always or like always like um, on turbo or something. And so when you ask a player like Josh Allen to not be uber competitive and protect himself, you ask a Jamar Chase, to just, calm it down a bit when it comes to making a catch, going up to get a catch, whatever the case is, to avoid contact. Like when push comes to shove, that ball's in the air, he's going to do what his natural instincts are. Right. And to me, it's going to be a similar situation to Mike Williams if they put him out there before he's fully healed. Because if he goes up with a hip injury and he's coming down and he's putting all that weight on his hip, like it's not good. And so, I mean, kudos to them for not pushing him this week. And I understand they were probably more concerned with next week, but Joe Mixon's out with a concussion. So no Mixon, no Chase. It's complete time for Joe Burrow to, if there were ever a moment for Joe Burrow to kind of get exposed, it would be this game. So, but yeah, if I were a Bills fan, I would not be happy. And this is one time where, as this season progresses, I am more and more happy to be a Chiefs fan because the training staff that we have, Rick Burkholter and that training staff, the medical staff we have, the head coach we have, Andy Reid, this whole team, those teams working together, the head coach, the training staff, the medical staff, they don't put players in this situation. They have utterly protected Patrick Mahomes from himself, from his competitive nature, and from situations like this. So kudos to them because they didn't allow the pressure to cause them to make stupid decisions. I think it's what's best for the Bills as well would be to rest him, to figure out what is the best option for him long term. But I'm not a Bills fan, so whatever they do, I guess to an extent it is on them. So not sure where Aaron is here. Let me check to make sure because he was right behind me. So I'm not sure what's going on there. Let me see if I can do something to help the guys get in here. But anyway, let's see. Holly says it does matter during the regular season though because the regular season dictates the playoffs. Holly, I mean the thing is you have to do a good job of being both like nearsighted and farsighted. Like you have to be able to balance a week by week this season and a long-term view of things. And I think you have to be ultra protective when it comes to long-term health for a player. Like you cannot sell out a game or even a season for a player's health down the line. Like you just I think it's terrible. I don't know. maybe I'm wrong in thinking so. You guys let me know, but yeah, I just think it's something you can't do. Holly says Bills did awesome, I guess, against the Lions, but it was a close game. The media made it sound like Allen and Diggs were heroes for the win. It seemed close to me. Yeah, I wouldn't consider I wouldn't consider them to be heroes in this game. To me, this game seemed more like it was lost by the Lions. Um, I would. I was watching this game with people who are actually Lions fans, which made it interesting. And so what I noticed was, or this is my assessment of what happened, as I recall it. So the Lions take a timeout on first down. They have 3rd and 1 or whatever. First down, they call a timeout. Then the officials review the spot, bring it back. It's now 4th and 1. And the Lions kick a field goal, if I'm recalling correctly here. First off, I disagree with the ability to review that play when the Lions are the one who call a timeout. If, as an official, you want to review that, you call the timeout yourself, you review that play, and then you make that determination. You don't do it on the Lions' dime. In my opinion, that's BS. And if I was a Lions fan, I would be utterly angry that we call a timeout to stop the clock, and you then decide you're going to review that play and review that spot. But outside of that, now I could be a little bit biased because they were playing the Bills, but I would be just as mad if it were the Chiefs, no matter who they were playing. And I would think it was dumb no matter who the Lions were playing. So, I mean, there's that. I don't know. I just thought that was kind of rude there. But you could argue back and forth if the Lions go for it on 4th down and they get it. At worst, you're running the clock down, kicking the game-tying field goal, and you're going to overtime. Instead, what happened was they kicked the field goal on 4th down. They gave the Bills plenty of time. Tyler Bass is a good kicker. To me, it's always risky. I don't care who the team is. I don't care if we're playing the Broncos. If there's 25, 30 seconds left, basically every team in that situation is looking to throw deep and pick up a DPI. Some ref crews have the courage to throw that flag. Other ref crews don't. But you're usually, I mean, that's about what it takes, unless you're Mahomes, and then it's a different story. You do it without flags because you're not getting flags in those situations anyway. But I mean, if you want to give them credit for that, I mean, were they even trailing in that situation? I don't remember if they were or not. I think it was were they tied at that point? I don't recall now. Thursday seems like forever ago. But anyway, yeah. I don't look at it as a I guess necessarily as a hero situation. I mean, first off, the Lions defense is garbage. Like, it's utterly garbage. Right? Like, that's not I don't think that's really heroic, but whatever. We're totally getting away from the topics there. I don't even want to talk about the Bills this much. I really don't care. Like, they don't matter to me. We play them in the playoffs. We play them in the playoffs. FLDB says the Bills coaching staff to me feels like if they lose one game, to me feels like if they lose one game, they are done and will lose the 1 seed to us. Hilarious part is that they lost to the Vikings anyway on the week they should have rested. That's an interesting. That was an interesting game as well. I actually shut that game off after the Vikings turned the ball over there. And I was like, okay, that's the game. And so I actually missed all of Josh Allen's heroics in that game. Heroics if you're a Vikings fan. But yeah, I'm sure they do feel that pressure. But if they're such a great team and they have such a great quarterback, then why do they really care that much if they get the number one seed or not? Like, is it really worth risking Josh Allen's health? Would Andy Reid risk Mahomes' health just to get the number one seed? Like, there's weeks that Andy, I don't feel, will even reveal stuff that he, that he could, stuff that he could throw into the game plan. I don't think he cares that much. He cares, but I don't think he cares that much to where he would do anything that he feels jeopardizes his team or his team's chances. So, yeah, number one seed is nice, but is it worth spending all your bullets over? They might feel that way. I think it would be silly for them. Anyway, Dan here. So Dan says some good bets for the Chiefs game, and Dan might jump on here as well. Not sure what's going on with Aaron, that he got booted and can't get on, or whatever the issue is. But looks like Dan's going to join us here, and Dan, I have your comment on screen while you're here. So Dan's going to join us here.
And, I apologize. So I'm using my phone. I'm not used to using my phone. So man, thanks for letting me join on, man.
Yeah.
It's funny because we agree completely on the way the Lions botched this game. And it's kind of funny because it's very rare when we agree. But me and my dad were watching the game, and we said the exact same thing. We're like, there's too much time. And a bit, okay, so I don't remember the exact time, but it was 4th and 1. And they should have just went for it. I was really mad because they were so aggressive all game. And so they're down by 3. And instead of going for the win, they went for the tie. And then when they kicked the field goal, they should have just easily, I thought they should have went for it, had some balls and go for the win instead of go for the tie. What happened is they went for the tie, ended up losing the game, and it was really disappointing. Me and you were Chiefs fans, so I mean, we were really disappointed in that. But it's very odd that we completely agree. So.
Now, I feel like we actually agree on a lot more than you always make it sound, but I think it's just because those things we disagree on that we kind of get stuck on, right? And I have these situations with Gooch as well. It's like, I think it's more about you agree with someone on so many things that when you disagree, it can kind of get confusing, right? It's like, we usually think of things the same way. So how are we coming at this one completely from opposite directions type of thing? But maybe it's just me.
Well, the good news is I think this week we both agree that the Chiefs should win this game. I'm hoping it's not a competitive game. I've been sick of these nail biters. I hope that we just go ahead and take care of business. And in 2 weeks from now, we got a really tough game against Cincinnati that I hope that we're prepared for. So, but let's not overlook. Let's not overlook the Rams. But we should win this one, hopefully convincingly.
These are the types of games that scare me because usually when I'm not worried about a game, we lose it. And I wasn't going to get into this before the guys got on, but I don't know if they're going to be able to jump in or not. But this game, and all of us as Chiefs fans, this might be a fan trap game. Because if there was ever a game that when you look at it from the outside, scripted on paper, that we should utterly destroy a team, now, not before the season started, but now, it would be this game. There's Aaron.
Well,
Aaron said Dan's not going to jump on here without me, so
I was replacing you. I'm like Aaron Light. I was filling in for you, Aaron. But we'll have a three. It works. Would be awesome. What's better than having three guys? There's very few things better than that. So, but I put a comment in here, and I think this is a good opportunity because I do agree with what Aaron's saying that this could potentially be a close game. This is a good opportunity if you're into sports betting to put some action on the Chiefs this week. I've been doing a lot of sports betting for a long time. This is one of the biggest lines of the year, if not the biggest line of the year. The Chiefs are a 15.5-point favorite. I would never recommend taking a 15.5-point favorite in the NFL. I would do it in college, never in the NFL. But the over-under is 41.5, which means that for those of you who don't do sports betting, it means the combined score of the Chiefs and the Rams has to equal 41.5. You can bet the over or the under. I really think that this is a game you really want to put action on the over. This is a game that on paper, people are really kind of think that the Rams aren't going to score any points. They're going to score some points this game. All right. We're not, I don't think we're going to win this game 28-0. My score prediction is 31-20, which is 10 points higher than over under. So I definitely recommend taking over on this game. If you're a recreational sports bettor, this is a good game to bet on. I really like the over. And then, I put some other recommendations. I think Juju's going to get on track. I think the Chiefs really want to get him going, and I think McKinnon can get over 16 yards rushing in this game.
Okay, I'm kind of stuck though on the defense giving up 20 to this Rams team.
All right, the term
a third string quarterback.
Well, the term is, for those of you who watched the Giants and the Cowboys, the Giants did what's called a backdoor cover in the gambling community, which means they score a touchdown late because the score is 28-20. The line was either 9 or 10, it depends on which service you use. But the Cowboys didn't cover on Thanksgiving due to what's called a backdoor cover, and that's just a late touchdown. I really think that there's going to be a late touchdown in this game, a garbage time touchdown. That I'm kind of hoping it's going to be like 31-10 late in the fourth quarter, and you'll see a late touchdown. But I do think 31-20 is not outside the realm of possibility. I mean, you got a creative play caller in McVay. You got a quarterback nobody knows anything about. So I've had to score 31-20, but this is a good game to take the over on.
Okay. Yeah, I guess we can just jump right into it. But so obviously, as Aaron said, and as most people already know now, no Matthew Stafford in this game. It is it Bryson Hopkins? Is that his name? Wait, that might be a kicker. What's this kid's name?
I know he's from Virginia.
Yeah, I had everything queued up here, ready to go. But anyway, so Allen Robinson. So Cooper Kupp's already out. Matthew Stafford's out. Right there is two huge hits to this offense. And on top of that, Tyler Higbee, their tight end, is questionable. Allen Robinson is questionable. Their left tackle is questionable. Their center is questionable. Like, to me, this is a lot of offensive hits to the point where I'm just going to be blunt. To me, this is a game I will very much be disappointed in Spags if this Rams offense manages to do much of anything. Because in my mind, you're playing the run, right? This has got to be, what's his name? Kieran, whoever the running back is now, and Cam Akers. It's got to be their show. You got a kid that doesn't have a lot of experience at quarterback. You want to protect him with the run. You got a left tackle who's questionable and a center who's questionable, probably the two most important positions on that offensive line. And if that center can't go, you especially don't want your next string back being the center for a kid without much experience as a quarterback who's calling the protections. So to me, this has got to be a run heavy game for the Rams. And if Spags isn't coming out in a 5-2 or something like that in this game and daring the Rams to throw, I'm going to be utterly disappointed. I would be disappointed, but I wouldn't be that disappointed if they were able to do it. If they can do it, you tip the hat, to them, give them a standing ovation, whatever. And then you put it in the hands of your offense. But if they come out and they run the ball all day long, and we've seen those games where we just let them do it, at least the first half, right? And then Spags, are probably more likely Joe Cullen makes adjustments, and then the running game goes away the second half. But to me, you got to mirror spy this quarterback, because I've seen it. I've seen some clips, so I know he's a little athletic. He's going to be out there trying to make some plays when they do pass. So mirror spy him. So bring the pressure from one side. Dare him to go off to the other side, and have your spy there waiting on him. Go ahead, go do that, whatever, in obvious passing situations. But be playing this game for the run. I'm just saying, for me, I'm going to be really disappointed if our defense even lets them get to enough points to where, yeah, I agree they'll score a garbage time touchdown, but to me that should be their first touchdown of the game.
It may not be. I'm with you though. I really hope that this is just a game that it's just kind of a tune-up for us in 2 weeks from now, which is going to be a really, really good game. I'm with you. I think that we could do the proverbial. I mean, it's different now. You really don't have a 4-3 and a 3-4 anymore. But I would like to see the Chiefs line up in a 4-3 defense, probably over 60%, and just say, "Hey, look, let's we're going to fill the box." I'm hoping to see a lot of blitzing, a lot of run blitzing, and just force his quarterback to make plays in order to win. And that's kind of what I'm hoping comes through. If not, I'm going to be really mad. If the Chiefs somehow don't win this game, or it's competitive, I think Spags is going to be the one to blame. I'd be shocked if our offense did something to lose this game for us.
I could see the special teams doing something goofy, but
that's true.
We're starting to get kind of used to that. But they don't even have Hendricks anymore. They dropped Hendricks. So I was going to go ahead and call it 12 for them. And that I thought was being generous with 4 field goals.
You're talking about Henderson?
Henderson, that's it.
Yeah. Sorry.
But I could see special teams giving something up.
I apologize to Bryce Perkins. Bryce Perkins, sorry for butchering your name there.
Well, apparently I am to Henderson. That isn't on a roster right now.
He just got picked up. I forget who, but
oh, really?
Yeah, he got picked up. I'm drawing a blank on who. Was one of the more surprising,
Jags?
moves is just getting rid of him. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's Jacksonville. And I'd be honest, I really liked that kid. He wasn't a bad player. I liked him coming out. I think he went to Memphis, if I remember right. And I really liked him coming out of college. And why get rid of him? Now, keep in mind, I like Akers quite a bit. Me and Keas talked about this. Akers was a guy that I liked more than CEH coming out. Akers was a guy.
I actually did too.
Yeah, he's a guy I thought that fit with the Chiefs perfect. I thought that would be a great pickup, but You know, I mean, I think we're kind of beating a dead horse here that we're all kind of disappointed in CH. But I mean, it's what it is. So.
Yeah. And I want to make it clear. I'm not saying that we're going to hold them. I'm just saying I'm going to be really disappointed if we don't, because on paper, this is a game that should be fairly easier for our defense. And again, you know, that's no slight to Bryce Perkins. That's no slight to Sean McVay. But the Rams, they're what? They have a losing record. And you're facing this team without Matthew Stafford. You're facing this team without Cooper Kupp. And that's when you would have had a very difficult defensive day as a defensive coordinator coming up with your game plan, right? Now it should be a lot easier. I hope that doesn't mean they start mailing things in, but I'm just saying it should be a lot easier in my mind there. I do want to say, though, back to the 4-3, I want to say this whole season, our defensive EPA has not been pretty when we have played in a 4-3. You would think with the 7 guys out there, the 4 on defensive line and the 3 that we would put at linebacker, it would be better. I don't know if it's just a matter of when Spags is using them, but it hasn't been real pretty. I want to say off the top of my head, I could go look it up each week, but I want to say that we've had more success with the 3-3-5, maybe the 4-2. Anyway, let me look it up here real quick.
Are you saying Chanel brings them down that much, or?
Well, I think that for
this
game, I think you know, having a lot of players in the box, whether you want to use a 4-3 or just putting, you know, Reed back, you know, putting him in, I think that would be a good idea. Just because you know, when I remember, you know, just me personally, if you're going against a young, inexperienced quarterback, force him to make quick decisions.
Right.
Could also do a lot of run blitzing. A lot of times when you say blitz, you're just assuming you're sending somebody after the quarterback. A lot of times you can use a run blitz and just you just want to fill up all the holes and just, you know, have either the running back bounce outside or just, you know, make a decision one-on-one just to make somebody miss or you know, run somebody over. Bottom line, I would like to see the Chiefs play really aggressive and try to force mistakes. One thing, I got the Rams schedule up here. The last 4 weeks, 4 straight losses, they've scored 14, 13, 17, and 20. You know, there's no excuse for the Chiefs to be giving up more than 20. There really isn't. They scored 20 against the Saints, which have a pretty good defense, but you know, I agree that, you know, this should be, you know, this should be a week that Spags shines, and if the Chiefs do have a close game, I think he's the one that you kind of got to look at and say, you do your job better, damn it.
I like the idea of keeping him in the pocket with the 4-3 as well, not being able to escape so easy.
Yeah, well,
but I don't know how much either of you pay attention to Locked On Chiefs. And I don't usually pay all that much attention when they do the crossover episode, but this week I did, and their guy was saying 35-10. The Rams Locked On guy.
Yeah. I think on paper, that's pretty much what makes sense. Again, on paper. But games aren't played on paper, so.
Are you worried about playing down to their level? Because we do tend to do that from time to time.
Well, that you know what, when I brought up 41.5, I've got DraftKings up. It's now 42, so maybe some people listened and put some money down. It already affected the line. Already people are betting on the over, but they're actually I personally think that that's definitely a possibility, but you know, I also think that it's human nature. 2 weeks from now, we play the Bengals. And I really think there's a lot of guys on this Chiefs team that saw the Bengals on the schedule and kind of circled that one. And I mean, you're just human beings, and I know like next game up, treat every game the same or whatever. But it's human nature to kind of look and like, man, we play Cincinnati next week. By the way, if you didn't know, Cincinnati, you talked about high ankle sprains. I believe that's injury Jamar Chase has. He's been practicing, and it's been questionable if he's going to play this week. He's not, and I think that he's looking at that schedule and going, I really want to go against Kansas City. So I might just be, making stuff up there, but that's kind of something I think that you're kind of looking at.
Yeah, it's some kind of hip injury, but
The hip
yeah,
injury.
and I agree with you. And we've said this multiple times when we've talked about we've talked about Bill Belichick and the Bills when they have those matchups, that same type of thing, right? They got that game circled, and yeah. So I think if the Bengals had beaten us just once and acted foolish like they did, I think it would have been one thing. But I think the second time, especially, this team is full of very petty people, very good human beings, but very petty players. So I would totally expect that. But yeah, hopefully they don't come out flat. I can understand why, if this game comes down to energy, why that might be an issue. But sorry about that, Gooch. It doesn't show when a fourth person's on there. So
No, I didn't notice either. Sorry, man.
I have a foursome. This is awesome.
When energy wise, I could get that, but energy aside, I think that just based on talent and who's playing and all of that, it shouldn't really matter. I think the energy that the Rams would have to bring would have to be so much greater to overcome, to where the Chiefs would have to come out really flat. And if that happens, I mean, you partially have to look at the coaches.
I agree. The only way the Chiefs really should lose this game is if you have turnovers and some really bad coaching mistakes, and that could include just getting the players up for this game, because this is a game that I really want to see Kansas City come out early, because I think if the Chiefs get a double-digit lead early, I could see the Rams just kind of packing it in. I mean, they've lost 4 straight. I don't know if they're mathematically eliminated from the playoffs, but I mean, come on, they're eliminated from the playoffs. I mean, they're not going on a run and making the playoffs this year. So I'd like to see the Chiefs. If this game's competitive going into the third quarter, I'm really going to be worried.
I won't, because Danny Showers will make sure that the Chiefs
I can't. No, I'm not taking showers. Oh no, I'm watching the game at my dad's, so I can't take all those showers. So I rescued us from the Chargers, but since I'm watching the game at my dad's, I'm not going to be able to take the 4 to 5 showers I normally take. So
hopefully we don't need them this week, but I still need to know how you count these showers.
After every quarter. Take one. You got to shave and shower before a game, and then at the end of every quarter you take a shower. It's for good luck, and then last week, just for some extra good luck, I took a shower right when around 2-minute warning. So
do you go through a ton of lotion then? I mean, that would probably drive me out pretty good. Maybe Gooch knows about that too.
cocoa butter.
No lotion. I just used a special soaps. I got a deal on really good that homemade soap. I mean, good stuff, man.
All right, before we move on here, I do have to ask, Dan, what happened during Super Bowl 55? Were you somewhere you couldn't shower?
That was on me. No, seriously. I had a really bad feeling going into that game. I had a really bad feeling, and I knew that. Let me see if I remember the timeline. It was like 14-3, and we called some timeouts. It was like a 3rd and long or something, and we called a timeout to try to get the ball back before half, and then Brady made the completion, went down to score. I kind of knew then and there. I was like, it's game over. Our offensive line is garbage, and give kudos to Tampa Bay. But that was. Hindsight, just going into that Super Bowl, I just had a bad feeling. So.
Well, I was also going to do this where, before we get any further, I wanted to say happy birthday, Gooch. How old are you now? 53? 54?
Was it Grandpa's birthday?
You watch your mouth.
Hey, Gooch, happy birthday, man. I didn't know, man.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah, I didn't know.
That's why you have me around.
Right. You don't even remember your own anniversary, but you know Gooch's birthday. So, what do you think about that, Liz? Oh, wait a minute. You knew the anniversary. You didn't know Liz's birthday. Is that what it was?
I mean, it is Liz. Can you blame him?
I know both, but it seems to sneak up on me.
Oh, Dan, I saw that. Trust me, she gives as good as she gets from me. So it's really just reciprocated.
She doesn't hold back.
I know I'm getting old at some point because we were going to do this midnight live, and Stevie sent me a link, and I went ahead and logged in, and it was like, "Hey, the broadcast isn't yet, stupid." And I'm like sitting there like, "Why is nobody in here?" I was like, "Oh yeah, midnight."
What time was that then? Like 6?
It was like 10:45 or something.
So how old is it this year?
21.
Okay, we're going to be like that.
With about 23 years experience.
So it is. Okay. So I actually had you at a year younger.
Still pretty. That's all that
What
matters.
do you think now?
I think this game is not going to be as easy as you guys think it's going to be. Not because they're more talented or anything like they're not with all their injuries, but cornered animals, wounded animals tend to put up their biggest fight before they die. And McVay has a lot of pride. I really don't think it's going to be that much of a walk. I mean, it may end up being a walk, but I think McVay is going to throw everything at us but the kitchen sink, and maybe even that, to try and get some momentum. Just because Stafford's not in there, he's not going to cut down his playbook. He's going to run his offense, and I think it's going to take a couple quarters for us to be like to absorb those haymakers and then become us again. That's just my opinion.
I'm gonna kind of touch base. I think that one thing McVay does, and I think he does it really well, custom tailor this playbook around what his quarterback does well. You're going to see something defensively or offensively, from the Rams defensively that we haven't seen all year. I mean, you're going to see a custom playbook because you have a new quarterback. That's kind of another factor of what Gooch said is the reason why I love the over on this game. I really don't think that Kansas City's just going to shut these guys out, but I do hope that it's a blowout win. But Gooch touched a lot of points that I like on the reason why taking over on this game is a really, really great move if you do any sports betting.
They do have a good defense, though. It's not been great like usual, but it's good.
They do, but their other defensive tackle is also out. It's Ashawn. What's his last name? I can't think of it. But I would counter this, Gooch. Is the wounded animal going to attack the Chiefs, or are they going to attack next week? Is this kind of a similar situation for both clubs where maybe the Chiefs are looking ahead to the Bengals and the Rams? If they want any shot, it really doesn't have to do with winning this game. It has to do with winning next week's game. Because if they don't beat the Seahawks, who is their divisional opponent and one of the top teams in their division, it doesn't matter if they beat the Chiefs. If they beat the Chiefs, it'll simply be a pride thing. If they don't beat the Seahawks, their season is essentially over, in my opinion, because the Seahawks are having a great season. They're in the same division. The Rams are playing at home. Like, to me, that's the game. After that, the next few weeks, it gets easy because they play the rest of the AFC West. As far as their record, they could lose this game and go to 3-8. If they beat the Seahawks, they go to 4-8, and then they play these three AFC West teams. It's going to get them up, if everything goes to plan, they could get up to 7-8.
Now,
they have the Raiders, they have the Packers in there as well.
I understand that logic. I understand that logic, but I think it starts here. If you can knock off the Chiefs, like, that momentum is a scary thing. And if you can beat the Chiefs, who are sitting at 9-2, number one, that people are like, oh, we forgot the Chiefs are this good. Now they're probably the best team in the NFL. And you knock them off, all that does is start the run. You said to yourself, beat the Chiefs? Oh, then we can hang with anybody in this league with this guy at quarterback that's not Matt Stafford. And then you're playing the AFC West. Now you're looking at 9-8 or 8-8 heading into the last game of the season. I mean, it's just, momentum is just that easy to build or lose. And I guarantee you McVay has something that he remembers from the last time we played when it was 55-51 or whatever. Somebody said some comment because he's got that kind of memory. He's going to have them motivated, and they're going to play. I mean, they're not looking at Seattle. They're looking at us. And they don't have the luxury of thinking, oh, let's just get past the Chiefs and get to Seattle. That's not a luxury they have. I mean, we could lose and go to 9-3 and be like, Cincinnati. You know what I'm saying? Aside from Buffalo, we're beating everybody in strength of schedule, points allowed, points against, points for, all that. The only one that has a tiebreaker over us is the Bills. And this is one of those games that the Chiefs tend to wet the bed.
Miami.
It says everything screams letdown to me. 15.5 points for Vegas. Are you kidding?
Now, Gooch, at the very beginning, I prefaced it by saying that this game scared me because whenever I don't worry about a game, that's when we lose. So I'm not arguing about what could happen in this game. I would just say, though, for Sean McVay to be and I'm not saying he's not an offensive genius, but Mr. Offensive Genius is coaching a 3-8 team right now. So, we give him credit, but we also have to give him credit for coaching a 3-8 team as well.
I get that. It's the same thing with Belichick. Belichick's what, 5-6, or what is it?
4 and 5, 6 and 4.
I think they're 6-5 now with
6-5.
Minnesota. I'm embarrassed to admit I thought New England would win that game. I bet on that one, unfortunately.
Did you pick the under in that game, or did you actually pick the over? I don't know what the over was
for the Minnesota game, or
yeah.
No,
I took Vikings and Patriots.
I took New England +3, thinking New England would win that game, and of course I was wrong. I give kudos to Minnesota after getting shell shocked by Dallas. They rebounded on a short week, which I didn't expect. Give a lot of credit to Kevin O'Connell, and also give a lot of credit to the Denver Broncos passing on Kevin O'Connell and taking Nathaniel Hackett instead. So, because Kevin O'Connell looks like he's doing a fantastic job there in Minnesota, and I'm not 100% sure. I think Denver had its choice between the two and wanted Hackett instead. So
we appreciate everything that the decision makers in Denver have been doing to steer that direction, the direction of that franchise, in a way that I think almost all Chiefs fans can applaud you for.
it is so comical. I was in Colorado. I call it Denver, but it's a town called Black Hawk. It's just 20, 30 minutes outside before the season. And they were convinced that they were going to, get back to the Super Bowl. It was their time to dominate the AFC West again. And by the way, Denver's a great sports town, and the fans are fantastic. I'm not making fun of them, but it is so great to watch a franchise that I want to lose as much as possible in Denver to just absolutely shit themselves. I mean, everything they've done is just been so comically bad, and
they are the gift that keeps on giving.
Oh, it is just fantastic. Actually, I'm actually curious.
It's like Nick Cannon.
I'm actually curious. Do you guys think Hackett is going to last after this year, or do you think he gets shit canned?
I thought it was just Elway.
No, it's now the Waltons.
Yeah, I got to stop shopping at Walmart. I think that's an interesting question, Dan. I think we have to see. We saw our first game with the quarterbacks coach calling the plays, right?
Yeah.
I think we need to see at least a couple more games from that. I'm not going to go into the full thing because the guys want to do a more in-depth piece, but Ted and Wynn and there was another writer for The Athletic did a piece on Russell Wilson himself, and basically, is there a way to redeem him as a quarterback? Is there a way for the Broncos to build or utilize a scheme that utilizes his ability? And the ultimate conclusion of the article was there's not. And so, they were showing life with the quarterbacks coach calling plays. Maybe they can show some life. I don't know if the premise is they hired Hackett thinking that they would be able to coax Aaron Rodgers to come to Denver. After all of that, if that's true, if that's what it was, I'm not sure that you can keep him. I think the only way you could keep him is if he somehow has Russ defending him. If Russ says he stays, then at $250 million, then he probably stays.
No, I completely agree with you. And it's just that if you've watched McVay over the years, what his offense revolves around is not really the strength of Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's strength is kind of movement, getting outside the pocket, going deep. And then the McVay's offense has always just been kind of a quick strike, quick passing attack, and that's never been Russell Wilson's strength. And I tried explaining this to Denver fans that it's really sticking a square peg in Russell Wilson into a round hole, which is the Denver Broncos. So, but that I knew this wasn't going to work. I just didn't think it would just be this comically bad. But you're right. If Russell Wilson comes out and defends him publicly, which he hasn't done yet. Another thing that's interesting is that I don't know if you guys heard about this, but after the regular season's over, I'm calling it Sean Payton sweepstakes. There's been a lot of talk about him going to the Chargers, and that personally scares the shit out of me. And I'd be kind of curious to know what you guys think. Are you guys even worried about that, or the Chargers just going to keep having players get injured, or does Sean Payton going to the Chargers frighten you guys? Because it scares me.
A little bit. And I do believe I've said it before.
Yeah.
That's a possibility. He needs a good, smart quarterback.
Hang on now. I am not a Denver Broncos defender, but I feel like somebody needs to step up for my man Hackett. All right. Now he came over because they thought Aaron Rodgers was coming. Aaron Rodgers co-signed him. Aaron Rodgers thought he was great. You know what I'm saying? He left Green Bay, and look at the Packers now with LaFleur actually calling the plays instead of Hackett. So he had to have been doing something right. And if Russell Wilson is a Hall of Fame quarterback like everybody says he is, it should be easy for him to pick up the offense. Even if it's not something that he does, you're a Hall of Famer. It shouldn't be hard for you to hit 7 yards down the field and be accurate. This is what you do. Even if you throw the prettiest deep ball in the game, you start passing with intermediate and short passes. I don't think this all falls on him. I think he's going to be the scapegoat, but I don't think it falls on him. And I think Russ has been drinking his own Kool-Aid, which is why even as a teammate, you have to talk to his manager to get a response from him. And he got $250-some-odd million, and he's basically going to bankrupt the Broncos for the next 5 years. What I say is you keep Hackett because it's proven that his system works. I mean, he was in Green Bay, was successful for 2 years. Aaron Rodgers won the MVP. He left. Aaron Rodgers looks, well, mortal. You know what I'm saying? And he's got receivers to throw to. I don't want to hear he ain't got nobody. Those boys are explosive and were good in college regardless of what the college was. And now he's in Denver, and Russ is making him look bad. Calling Seattle audibles at the line? You gonna blame that on Hackett too? I mean, this is all Russ. This is what you do, Denver. Trade him. Somebody dumb is gonna give you 3 first-round picks for Russell Wilson. I mean, it's not going to be Seattle, but somebody will trade him, get the draft back, and start building. Put him in Houston, where careers go to die.
Hey, Robert. Hey, Hefe, Holly, Frankie.
I 100%. Well, let me rephrase that. I 100% agree with you about the Hackett is going to be the scapegoat, and his offense does work. And it's kind of a shame if he does get fired, because this may kill any opportunities he has to be a head coach in the NFL. And I think he's a fine coach. It's just that
and more laughs we can have next year.
Yeah, I really thought that, because it's a first year and a first year coordinator, if Denver can somehow get to year 2, then they would have a lot more success offensively. But I think the issue is more with Russell Wilson, just doing whatever he wants. I've heard that too. I don't know if that's true or not, but I've heard that from multiple sources that he called audibles from back when he was in Seattle. Another thing is, look how much better Seattle is without him. I mean, nobody misses Russell Wilson in Seattle right now. What I don't agree with is that some team's going to give 3 first-round picks. It'd be interesting to see if there was a market, if another team wanted to trade for Russell Wilson. The Giants are an interesting because I don't think they really want to move on with Daniel Jones. And I know they have the Chiefs' 3rd-round draft pick. I don't know what else they have as far as extra draft capital. Houston has what looks like 2 top 10 draft picks. Number 1, I think number 9, last I looked. Detroit would be interesting. They got 2 first-round draft picks. Drawing a blank on who else has additional. The Eagles have 2 first-round draft picks. They're not going to take a quarterback. But I'd be interested to see if there was a team that would be reaching out to Denver saying, hey, we want to take Russell Wilson. And I think it'd be interesting. But I agree with Gooch that Hackett's going to be the scapegoat, and I don't think he deserves the blame for what's just a comically inept offense. It's just
also Seattle is running good now because they can actually run the offense that they want to run. Richard Sherman said it on his own podcast that the offense that they're running now is the offense that they have been trying to run in Seattle even when he was there. But Russell only liked certain plays and certain things. So when it came down to it, Pete Carroll chose Russell over everybody else, and he could only run the things that he liked to run, which You know, now he's gone and they've opened up the playbook. They look good. I mean, I thought Geno Smith was a bum.
I did too.
He might actually get an MVP vote, which would be oddly ironic and slightly satisfying. And I'm going to tell you why. Because Russell was in Seattle for all them years and never got an MVP vote. And then Geno Smith gets an MVP vote before Russell Wilson. I swear, I have to build a statue to Geno or something because it's going to be crazy in them streets.
That would be funny.
All right.
I
I'm
am
going to
a
respond
proponent.
to. Go ahead. Andy.
I am a proponent in them getting more than 1 year for a chance, though.
There's about 50 things here that I have to respond on. Number one, the Broncos couldn't trade Russell Wilson even if they wanted to. They would have over $100 million in dead cap. So thank you, Broncos, for being dumb enough to blindly give a man $250 million and structure it in such a way that even if they were to try to cut him in 2025, they would still have $49.6 million in dead cap. So he is completely untradeable, even if a team were able to give them 3 first-round picks at over $100 million in dead cap. You simply cannot make that trade. Secondly, for all the talk about Nathaniel Hackett, and he certainly has the pedigree. His father is a great Paul Hackett, former offensive coordinator for the Chiefs, I believe former offensive coordinator for USC, and plenty of other people out there. He's got the experience, everything Gooch said. Matt LaFleur was also a great offensive coordinator for the Titans before he got that head coach job in Green Bay. And I'm not going to defend him a whole bunch because when we did our head coach QB rankings and Dan was on here for that, I questioned Matt LaFleur and said, is it Matt LaFleur or is it having Aaron Rodgers as his quarterback for all the success he had in his first 3 years? So I'm not going to defend Matt LaFleur, but he obviously, with his time with the Titans, he earned his head coaching position. With the Packers, he didn't all of a sudden forget how to move an offense. I think we're discounting Aaron Rodgers' aging and some of his, I don't want to say mental issues, but there's some issues going on with Aaron Rodgers that I think are more to blame for this. If people want to throw out Devontae Adams, it could be all three. Aaron Rodgers is getting older. Nathaniel Hackett's gone. Devontae Adams is gone. The Packers have to find their identity, and I'm not sure that they've done that yet this season. When you look at the Seahawks, they drafted really well this year. They added 2 great offensive tackles. They didn't have a great offensive line for Russ. So, that definitely helps with Geno to an extent. One of the big issues, though, in the article that I mentioned, Dan, was one of the ultimate reasons that they don't believe that there's a system for Russ anymore is you talked about his mobility and ability to get out of the pocket. He doesn't have that anymore. He has lost his quickness. That is part of what Ted Nguyen said and part of the issue. And teams are scheming knowing he still wants to. He doesn't have the speed, but he has the desire. It was one of the things referenced in the article because the Seahawks played the Broncos week 1, and afterwards Pete Carroll gave away part of their game plan, and he basically dissed Russ. He said, hey, we know what all of his weaknesses are, and this is what we did, essentially giving every other team the game plan to stop them. The Raiders implemented this. I'd be surprised if other teams don't either. They know what they're doing there, and unless Russ adapts, his career is going to get uglier and uglier. So I think all in all, when you look at all those things, there's a lot of factors there. Well, let's get back to the game. Gooch, we started talking defensively a little bit about what we were expecting and wanting to see on this. You want to hit on that, or we want to hit on the offense because there's some Andy Reid came out and said that we might see some Rojo. So I know we all have a comment on Andy saying that Rojo has a legitimate chance to play in this game. So you want to touch on the defense, or you want to just jump in and start talking about the offense here? Because we're only going to be on here, about another 15, 20, maybe stretch it into 25 minutes.
I mean, we could discuss defense, but as long as Spags stays making adjustments like he's supposed to after the half, and the Chiefs have been looking good in the second half of games, I'm not going to deal with that. Those young boys are getting better every game, and I just don't feel like, I mean, obviously nobody listens, but I just don't feel like picking them apart, guys who are learning their position in the NFL, you know what I'm saying, game to game. They're getting better. That's all you can ask for when 5 out of your 6 secondary people or whatever are all rookies, you know, from mostly small schools. You know what I'm saying? The fact that we're 9-2 is amazing, and I want to relish in that. Rojo getting some playing time, that's interesting because I actually thought he would as it started to ramp up towards the end of the season when it's cold and it's windy and you're going to have to run the ball. And Pacheco is still young, so you can offset those two, because who wants to tackle Rojo and Pacheco in Arrowhead in 12-degree weather with a -5 wind chill in pads? Nobody. You know what I'm saying? It'd be like trying to tackle Derrick Henry unless you're Nick Bolton, who relishes in that. I'm not surprised. I actually think Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I think the injury to Clyde, I hate injuries for those guys, but I think this saved the Chiefs from having to have a really difficult conversation, which was you're just not producing. You know what I'm saying? And the only reason why you're seeing the field is because you were a first-round pick. Kudos to Pacheco for taking a grown man's job, like you said. I think
now Clyde isn't that tall, so he could have been talking about someone else when he said grown man.
That's true. I think Juju being back is going to help. If Mahomes continues to play, like, his fundamentals have been great these last few games. Like, he hasn't gone through that middle of the season 2 or 3 games where he just looks terrible and he's relying on talent. Like, he's really getting the ball around. I mean, sure, he still does his Superman thing, but I mean, mostly all of his passes have been accurate. I really think you just continue to get people involved, and this could be throw away from Jalen. That's my key to winning. Don't throw at Jalen. And they're not going to put Jalen on Travis because Travis would eat his lunch. But don't throw at Jalen.
I just wanted to back him up on not talking crap on the young kids. We want to do their learning. It's what we were asking for all of last year.
Right. Yeah. And I'll just add to that, growth isn't linear, right? We tend to look at things in like a linear progression when that's usually not how they work, like people talk about the stages of grief. There's not a linear stage of grief. You can go through multiple stages at the same time. You can go from one to the other, back to the one, back to the other. It's the same way with growth. Growth isn't a linear thing. So we can see a player have a great game and string together 2 or 3 great games. They can take a step back the next week or even a couple weeks. And it doesn't mean you have to freak out. Have a little bit of patience over the progression of 17 weeks, 20 weeks for the Chiefs when you throw in the Super Bowl there. So, have a little patience in that. And then at the end of the season, you can see how they progressed. So, well, Aaron, Dan, you want to throw anything in there about the offense? If not, we'll attack the chat here.
All right,
I do kind of rapid pace.
One thing, you guys nailed it, and one thing I've noticed is I think Matt Nagy has really helped this team quite a bit. If you've noticed, every time Patrick Mahomes walks off the field, Matt Nagy's right there next to him. And I think that him coming back to the Chiefs organization has really helped. I mean, I don't know the exact numbers, but I think this is maybe Mahomes' best statistical season, if I can get that word out. And I think Matt Nagy has something to do with that. I mean,
because it's Matt Nagy's team when Andy Reid retires.
Bingo. Well, seriously, it may be something that is Matt Nagy, the Chiefs offensive coordinator next year. Do we just, tell Eric Bieniemy, hey, thanks, and, get the hell out of town? Does Matt Nagy get another chance to coach an NFL team? They coach another NFL team. I don't think it's going to be next year, but that's something that may come up later on. But, I think Matt Nagy's had an impact on the Chiefs team this year, and I think we see it. And like I said, every time Mahomes leaves the field, there's Matt Nagy next to him, and I think there's something to be said there, and it's something for the growth of the Chiefs. Kind of like what you guys were saying. Just kind of, I think Matt Nagy has a lot to do with that, and maybe we're not mentioning or praising him enough.
Yeah. So this year's offense so far. 2022 Chiefs offense is number one, at least since 2012, in offensive EPA. That's expected points added per drive. Number one since 2012, Kansas City Chiefs offense this year. So no Tyreek Hill, number one. So just kind of throwing that out there with what you said about how great the offense has looked this year. So anything else to talk about on the offense, guys?
I also said during the off season that we'd see it more like his first year starting, and he's possibly going to beat that statistically.
Yeah, it could happen. And this year especially, it seems like we're seeing a lot of those old Dan Marino records, those young first 5 years, first 70, 75 games, whatever, records start to tumble here to Mahomes. So,
did you find any of those stats that me and Dan were talking about, the 4-3?
No, they're weekly stats. You'd have to go through every single one. But I think that when the Chiefs were in, when they're in 3-3-5, but part of that is when they're in the 3-3-5, technically Carlos Dunlap is listed as a linebacker. And so
that's strange.
I'm not 100% certain that when they're in a 3-3-5, it's not more like a 4-2, or they at least have the versatility to play it either way. So if the offense, if they think the offense is going to pass, you obviously can stay in a 3-3-5. If if there's some kind of key that tells you it's probably a run, then it comes up to it. And I'm just guessing here based off of that. But there's a great Twitter follow. Joseph Hefner, his Twitter handles Jose Hefe, who does these every week, like a couple of days after the game. He comes out with a couple of different things on the game, and one of them is he looks at every personnel package on offense and defense and the EPA when the Chiefs are in that for the offense and the defense, so you can kind of get a gauge.
Is
good
it our
stuff.
Hefe that's in the chat?
What's that?
Is it our Hefe that's
No, I don't think so. Hefe, you can let us know, but I'm pretty sure it's not. No, that's just a Spanish word for boss. So we have the boss in the chat. This is a different boss.
I did not know that. I learned something, every time I come on, I get to learn something. That's pretty awesome. Jefe is Spanish for boss.
See? All right, so we want to hit some chat here real quick, do some rapid chat. Guys, we're not going to stay on much longer. I don't think any of us really felt there was a whole lot to talk about previewing this game. Again, it's one of those ones on paper that, We should. Doesn't mean we will. We tend to not to when we should, but yeah. Aaron, if you want to go look for some comments, this is about where I was at when we stopped. But if you want to look and find some great ones to highlight after that, we can try to hit everything we can. Guys, we're sorry that we're not going to be able to get to all the comments tonight because you guys always have great points and questions and stuff for us here. But again, Frankie said, what bugs me is that Josh Allen is stupidly going into tackles with his hurt elbow, like he's going to literally end his career short by not being smart. This is something I've always liked. I'm assuming there's more about Mahomes, not that he's like this about Josh Allen. About Mahomes is that he is smart with how he gets hit. Yeah, and you know, I think as a star quarterback, listen, learn from Andrew Luck. Right? It wasn't Andrew Luck's fault. It wasn't all Andrew Luck's fault, but learn from Andrew Luck. Just because you're a star quarterback doesn't mean you can't have a much shorter career than what you should have. So, you guys want to add anything to that?
You're 100% correct. For years, I criticized that I'm drawing a blank on his name, the head coach with the Giants. He was the Bills' offensive coordinator because he would run these designed runs, and I thought that the Bills would use a lot less designed runs to protect that. Yeah, Dable, that's it. Yeah, I blame Brian Dable. Look what the Giants are doing now. They run, I think it's like second most rushing attempts in the NFL. And so they got the new offensive coordinator, and I'm drawing a blank on his name. He's former University of Miami quarterback, 7th-round pick.
Ken Dorsey.
Dorsey, yeah. I thought Dorsey, if you know anything about Dorsey, he's not a mobile guy. He wasn't a mobile guy at Miami. He wasn't a mobile guy in the NFL. I thought that they were going to stop all of this foolishness. But they didn't. They do. Watch the Bills play. It's about 3 to 5 design runs every single game, and then Allen is shortening his career by getting beat up, and it's just silly. And another great point too is that Mahomes knows he's just smarter. He knows get down, try not to take that punishment, and this is something that's really going to hurt Buffalo because if Josh Allen isn't 100% going into the playoffs, the Bills aren't going to advance.
Right. I don't know if you guys notice this. Maybe, and I'm totally off here, but I think I've seen enough Bills games. But for the majority of that Bills-Lions game, it looked to me like Josh Allen was using a much lower arm slot when he was throwing his passes. You know, not like a one-time thing. I got to do this to get it past this defender. It looked like I was seeing a lot of low. Not quite sidearm, but a lot of low arm slots in his throws.
He was throwing his body into it too.
His throwing motion was definitely affected. You can tell he's not 100% healthy, and I blamed Dable for the longest time. I'm like, this is a stupid thing, but I think it's just something. I don't know if it's Josh Allen just saying, "Hey, I'm going to run the ball because I can and I want to," or if it's just something. Ken Dorsey wants to do, but I mean, I think it's a bad move. And if look, you beat the Lions by what was it, 3 or 4 points? I mean, yeah, the Lions are playing better, but I mean, they're come playoff times, you're going to face some teams better than the Lions, and if you're banged up like that, I really don't think Buffalo's going to advance.
Thought this was a good comment by Holly.
Yeah, Andy Reid, Burkholder, etc., all wise to not share all the deets of the injury status of all the players. Well, I think most teams try to do that to get a competitive advantage. I don't know how much Vegas likes it, and I don't know how much fans like it, but yeah. Dan, I mean, you're the better. Is it not something that basically all 32 teams do to try to not as much as possible give that competitive advantage?
There's actually NFL restrictions. You are required. All 32 teams are required to release an injury report. And it was a couple of years ago, Bill Belichick got, I think, a fine or something. So they put like everybody on the injury report. It was like 25 people. One of them had a hangnail just to be a hard ass. And but it actually has a lot to do with gambling, is because the NFL wants injury reports notified, and you have to play around. There is some leeway. I don't know the specifics, but it's a big deal. As a matter of fact, I placed a bet because I was waiting to find out if Jamar Chase, the wide receiver for the Bengals, if he was going to play, and if he wasn't, then I was going to go ahead and take the Titans. And then it was released later today. I spent about 13 hours watching college football. I'm going to finish up after we get off. I'm going to watch Washington State. That's all I did today. I don't know if you guys watched any college football or not. I took a break from watching college football to
Roll Tide. Roll Tide.
Oh God! Oh, Alabama.
I haven't heard that in a couple of weeks.
Ohio State lost. Auburn lost. Clemson lost. I mean, this is
lost. And this is funny. I tuned into the game, and I was going to skip it because Oregon was up 31-10 with about 3 minutes left in the third quarter. And I was like, I'm going to watch it. Oregon State came back, won the game, and did not complete a single pass. It was just absolute bonkers. It was one of the craziest endings I've ever seen to a game. And by the way, Oregon State rivalry, you guys probably aren't aware, it's a big deal. It's a big deal there, and it did affect Oregon because they would have advanced to the Pac-12 championship. Instead, Utah does, and they're going to play USC, which USC won against Notre Dame. It looked like Caleb Williams is saying, hey, here, call me the Heisman winner, because that's kind of what he looks like right now.
Well, I was going to say, so the hoodie does have a sense of humor, huh?
Yeah.
Oh,
it's kind of lost in a bit ago, but...
No, he definitely. I think we talked about this one night. Bill Belichick reportedly has a great sense of humor, like inside the locker room. And there was even a story. I forget the book now. I think it was. I don't remember if it's a Michael Hawley book or not. About the Patriots, and he talked about like after the Inflategate thing or the Spygate or whatever. The next season, Belichick hired a comedian to come into the locker room.
Yeah.
And the comedian, he told him, you know, nothing's off limits. You know, he was basically roasting Bill, basically roasting the team. And so, yeah, all the reports out there is that Belichick has a really great sense of humor.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Andy Reid, right? We had, I think Holly said something last Saturday or Sunday night about Andy's, you know, demeanor when he's doing the post-game press conferences compared to, you know, how he is in the locker room after a win, you know, how pumped up he is. Those guys love football. They don't like talking to the press because, you know, the press ask questions that annoy them. So they're only there because they have to be there. So you don't see their personality. You see them annoyed and bored and outside of their element and outside of what makes them happy. So, yeah. Robert says, Chiefs' first thought is long-term player health, which relates directly to success and competitiveness. Yeah, you hear Eric Bieniemy every week say that they are preparing the guys to be the next man up. And they say that every single week. They're asked about an injury to any number of players. They say the same line every week about every player knows that they need to be ready to go if they're the next man up. And that's their attitude. So I think that goes into it. But
that's why it's great to be a Chief.
When your coach is Andy Reid, you know that, you know, the sky isn't falling, even if you have to play Chad Henne, you know, one game. Although I would be concerned about it this year with the way that teams are playing defense now. But
I think they say that, but I mean, there's also fear. Like, people love playing for Andy Reid, but one of the reasons they talk to LaShawn McCoy, I think Deshaun, and all that, and they're more or less like Andy. People like, because Andy gives it to him straight. He'll tell you straight up, I'll bench you if I don't think you're studying or you're not going to do what I want you to do, regardless of if you're a first-round pick or the last man on the roster, and he'll just go to the next person. So I think the next man up mantra is true too, but I also think that they realize playing for Andy Reid is rare, and you sure don't want to get benched by Big Red. It's almost like getting benched by Andy Reid is like getting cut by Bill Belichick. If you can't make it there, your career's probably over, or you're definitely not going to get a big check. I just wanted to toss that in. I'm sorry. Keep going, guys.
Right. It's like the antithesis of playing for the Raiders. So Robert says, need to watch the option plays. Think the third string can run.
Yeah. Yes.
That's basically why I wanted the 4-3 is to keep him in the pocket. And Dan was wanting the 4-3 for run blitz, and that probably has something to do with it, right, Dan?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. This kid can run, and I think that it wouldn't surprise me if the Rams sneak or have like a big gain or some big plays early in the game, because we're going to see a different offense with this kid, and I had his name up, but he's just so much different than Stafford, and I think McVay is going to take advantage of what he can and can't do. So, I mean, I don't expect the Chiefs to win by a shutout. I'm hoping, but, we're going to see some different things. But I would like to see the Chiefs play a lot of 7 in the box, and I'd like to see a lot of blitzing.
Now, I do think we do have, somewhat of a defensive advantage in that we did face Malik Willis. We have faced quarterbacks who do like to run, like Josh Allen and Justin Herbert. And, that sack at the end of the game against Justin Herbert was actually one the Chiefs baited him into. So I think Spags and I think Colin, I think that coaching staff is smart enough to understand. And again, we talked about Russell Wilson and some of the things that the Seahawks did and then the Raiders did. It was something that Colts did against Mahomes and other teams have done, as well, where they're doing this mirroring with their spy. So they're bringing pressure from one side. They're manipulating where the pressure is coming from for where they want the quarterback to go. So the pressure comes from the left side. They know the quarterback's going to the right side, right? Where the pressure is coming from the right side, they know the quarterback's going to the left side. The reason you do that is because you cut down where your spy has to cover in half. The spy no longer has to worry, is he going to the left? Is he going to scramble to the right? He knows it's one half. His job is to stay around there, and as soon as that quarterback starts to go, you go with him because you know what side he's going at because you know where the pressure is coming from. So, I think it's screwing with the heads of veteran quarterbacks. So I think if you're a young guy, I think the issue is, can your guys make the tackle when it's there? And that's something our defense is terrible at. And it's something that Spags' defenses fundamentally, they're not good tackling. And to me, that's a coaching issue, but we're getting off topic here.
Robert said, they've been much better this season than last.
I will say this. I think the defense this year is a lot different. There's so much more speed on the front 7. I mean, right. Bolton can just fly. It's been a long time since I've seen. And Chanel, he's a fast guy too. I don't know how much he's going to play or not play, but this front 7's a lot faster than the previous. And I know at least the last 5 years in Kansas City. But it's something that I really enjoy, and it's something that does present an advantage for mobile quarterbacks. We got linebackers that can run you down.
Right, and I think it helps now with Colin Saunders being healthy, where they can plug him in the middle. The flexibility they now have to move Chris Jones wherever they want, wherever that offensive line matchup is, right? And if that center, listen, he's questionable, whether he's out or not, you got to think that physically, even because he was questionable, and I don't even think he practiced yesterday, if I recall correctly. But even if he plays, and even if he's even at even better than 85%, Chris Jones is going to beat most centers anyway, But even if he's not, the left tackle's questionable. So they can move him around and find, and that's what they've been doing, right? Finding that sweet spot for Chris Jones on who he's going to match up against. And the thing is, if you put him on the offensive tackle, they can't double and triple team you like they can, in the middle. So they should have a lot. They should. The word is should have a lot of fun manipulating the Rams offense in this one, in my opinion. Should. Robert says, prevent D giving up cheap yards and points. Wish we had more of the killer instinct to push the point differential. Robert here, I think, of course, talking about having a Rex Ryan coach instead. I don't know if you guys saw Rex Ryan's comments this last week after the win about it's an easy job. Basically, it's an easy job to be the defensive coordinator of the Chiefs. You just have to force 3 punts and or a turnover or something like that. Is essentially what he said. Yeah, we'll leave it at that.
Hey, Larry, and yes, Clark was back last game.
Yeah, Frank Clark is back. FLDB says, what kind of a dummy plays football as a quarterback with a broken thumb on their throwing hand? A rich dummy?
But I'll give credit to Aaron Rodgers. Is that over the last couple of years he's played hurt, and this year's kind of an exception where he hasn't played great. But give credit. He doesn't have the streak Brett Favre did, but the guy plays hurt and does play quite a bit. He's not a guy that's going to sit out.
Damn it, Steve!
Just banged up. So yeah. Give credit to Aaron Rodgers for his toughness, and that's going to be an interesting situation with Green Bay. As when do they want to move on from Rodgers? So.
Yeah, I think that's a legit question for them as well. I don't know the direction that franchise is going to be able to go, but yeah, to me, I think there's some skill. There's some diminishing of skill, kind of like with Russell Wilson. And that was a part of the other issue. We'll get to this more here in a couple of weeks when the Chiefs get ready to play the Broncos. Just the things from that article about Russell Wilson and his weaknesses. But Larry has the Chiefs winning 38-17. That seems to be a similar score to what I've been hearing a lot of. I think it was NFL Network I was watching earlier tonight, and I think I've seen basically a lot of scores like this.
I'm going to say 31-12.
I don't do scores, but if I did one, it would be like 75-12.
This is why Steve doesn't do scores.
I'm kidding. Well, if we scored 51 4 years ago, no. And Gooch left. I drove him away.
Well, just like we all picked over. It's now 42. I got DraftKings up as we were watching, but this is a game if you do sports betting that for over 40. Well, it's not 42. Is a really, I think it's a really solid bet. You're going to have great weather. The Chiefs have the number one scoring offense in the NFL. The Rams score 14 points, and you have a good opportunity to go ahead and make that. It wouldn't surprise me. I got 31-20, so I got a prediction of about 10 points over 9. But I also like Juju Smith-Schuster over 55.5 receiving yards and Jerick McKinnon over, I think it was 16.5 rushing. So
I like the McKinnon one.
Anything can happen. Like Dan, we were talking earlier about the Patriots and Vikings game, and I asked you about the over, and I don't even know what it was. Do you know what the over was in this?
It was
game?
It was a low number. People were really thinking it was going to be a low scoring game. I want to quote you 42.5, but I don't know exactly. Okay. It was 42.5 or 43, and it ended up being 32-25. I mean, the Patriots gave up a special teams touchdown. Very rare. For those of you that don't know, Bill Belichick started his career as special teams coach, so he puts a lot of emphasis on special teams, and they gave up a special teams touchdown. So it's kind of, yeah, I mean, any given Sunday, and all sorts of weird things can So
Yeah, I know.
But if you
I thought it
lose,
was going to
the
be
channel is Dan Talks Football.
right. Dan Talks Football. No longer the Dan Show. Dan Talks Football. Tuesday nights, Friday nights, 7 p.m. I've been forgetting about it, but you guys don't forget it. Make sure
thanks,
you check
man.
them out.
Thanks.
Yeah, I listen. If I was a betting guy, of course, if I was ever going to bet, I'd use Gooch's money. But if I was a betting guy, I would have put it on the under in that game because I thought it was going to be like 14-10. I thought it was going to be a really low scoring game, and the defenses were going to rule the day. So it was what 32-34-26, like
Yeah, 32-25. Yeah,
just blew
yeah.
my mind.
I thought it was going to be a low scoring game. New England has this running back that I have a major man crush on. I can't pronounce it.
Stevenson.
Yeah. I good luck pronouncing his first name. I'll say
Ramondre.
Yeah, I have a major man crush on him. And Belichick apparently gushes all over this kid.
He's good.
He's really good. I thought he was going to have a big day. And instead, Minnesota, what they did is they forced Mac Jones to throw the ball. Mac Jones didn't have a bad day, but I know he had at least one pick. He may have had two. I may not remember. I know he had like 370 yards passing, but they out Belichicked Belichick. They stopped their number one option, which is a second-year running back in Stevenson, a guy that I absolutely just I gush over certain players, and Stevenson's one of them. He's a guy who's a lot of fun to watch. And me and he's next year, we're both going to watch Breece Hall. Both of us were very high on Breece Hall coming out of college. Damn shame he got hurt, but
Right.
I think he'll have a monster year next year with the Jets.
Holly says, yep, watch Belichick's interviews about special teams. As much as I don't like the Patriots, Belichick has an amazing coaching mind. He does, and I don't know if they do it anymore, but like I think the Patriots Twitter account, like every Monday or Tuesday, something Belichick would do like a 10-minute breakdown from the previous game. Like I think those are interesting to watch. Like you don't have to like the guy, but you can respect that you're going to learn a bunch just by listening to him. So like I think even just being in the same room and breathing, the same cells that he's just exhaled, you're going to get something. So
no, I wish I knew about that. I would love to see stuff like that. There's a YouTube channel. I'm drawing a blank on it, but they break down like running schemes, and he did a video on Trent Williams, and thank God we played Trent Williams when he was about like 60%. But they break down like the run schemes and how they're very creative. Honestly, San Francisco runs a very simple offense, but looks complex, all the motion and shifting that they do. But I love stuff like that. I can't get enough.
all right, we got anything else here, Aaron?
Nope.
All right, then, guys. Final thoughts here. Whatever your final thought is, game related, something else we've talked about, something else we haven't talked about. It's been a crazy season, so there's a lot of stuff there. So
let's eat defense.
Just really, really excited about the Chiefs. I mean, this is a team that just looks awesome right now. I mean, the defense is kind of so, but the thing is, I love the defensive speed. I mean, this is the fastest Chiefs defense we've seen in the last 5 years, and this might be Mahomes' best season. I'd be shocked if he didn't win MVP. I mean, unless he goes down with some sort of injury, I don't see how he's not the MVP, and it might be almost unanimous this year. I mean, I think Allen, with him being injured, goes down. Tua's had some good games, but I don't see him really overtaking Mahomes. Am I leaving somebody out as MVP? Derrick Henry or Jeff?
I mean, it depends on the fan base, right? Cowboys fans would say Micah Parsons,
Travis Kelce.
All right.
Jeff A.
Oh, I see Aaron, your brother is with us.
Nice.
You're coming in late there, but Yeah, Holly's heading out. Holly says, let's eat defense. Yeah, I'll say this. All right. Dan talked about the defense. We've already surpassed last year's sack total. What, 10? I think through 10 games or 11 maybe. We've already surpassed last year's sack total with 6 or 7 more games left to go. The Chiefs are number 7 in the NFL in rookie snaps through week 11. 7th most rookie snaps out of all 32 teams. The only teams that are ahead of them are the Texans, the Seahawks, the Bears, the Giants, the Titans, and the Jets. So definitely the arrow is pointing up.
And we're doing all that, guys, without interceptions.
Right.
Actually, there's one thing I saw something on some Chiefs social media account, and by the way, there's some real idiots in Chiefs social media, and I consider this guy one of them. But maybe he's seeing something I'm not. Calling Karlaftis a bust. I think he's been amazing, and Keas talked about this. What they've done, and I've seen this a lot of times. They put Karlaftis on the nose. And then they take Chris Jones and put him on the outside. And even though he's not directly getting the snaps with interior pressure and exterior pressure, he's really helping that front seven. Are you guys seeing Karlaftis as a bust? I saw that and I was like, are you serious? You watching something? Am I missing something, or are you guys?
He's not getting home. He's getting pressures like crazy. So I don't know.
I think he leads all rookies and half the league in pressures. Like, you don't, and that's something that we've all discussed. Like, you don't have to sack him every time. The pressure alone will get a quarterback off his spot or make him throw it faster or whatever. So I think bust is a little drastic, because if he's not there, Chris is a beast. He's an animal, but I don't think he's defensive player of the year without somebody that can play the nose and be just as quick as him and get some more eyes on him so Chris can go one-on-one. I just, a lot of the sacks are because Karlaftis is nonstop motor running people down and moving quarterbacks off the spot. I hate people like that. He doesn't have 15 sacks, so he's a bust. Come on. He was raw coming out of college anyway. He had one pass rush move until Frank started trying to teach him that stupid spin one-way, spin back thing. I wouldn't call him a bust.
No.
Actually, I honestly don't think we have a bust on our roster right now from this last draft, do we? Like, they all played considerable snaps and they played well for rookies.
Kennard would be the closest thing, but he hasn't even played. So
I was going to say Najee Johnson, but he's like
he played right tackle. He played right tackle when Wiley got hurt, and he didn't do too bad against a couple weeks ago, right?
Well, I know Prince Tega Winogo got in, but I didn't know that Kennard did. So I'm not. I don't think Kennard has actually been active for any game.
That's who I was thinking about, Winnebago.
That's what I was waiting for.
But Dan, to answer your question, I think a lot of it is predicated on a certain Chiefs guy out there who a lot of people follow, who is a very, very, try not to use the word Kool-Aid snorter, a very optimistic guy who said before the season began, he thought that George Karlaftis was going to break Derek Thomas's Chiefs rookie sack record and have more than 10 sacks this season. So when you're a high profile guy in Chiefs Kingdom saying something like that, and he doesn't even have the one, like, it's setting him up for failure, because you're setting such a high bar, but you're also pinpointing it to sacks. So that's what the expectation for his success is. Meanwhile, and this is a couple weeks old, but I haven't seen an updated tweet on it, but through week 9, so a couple weeks old, through week 9, George Karlaftis was second in defensive rookies in pass rush win rate, and that was with stunts and blitzes removed. So just pure pass rush win rate behind Aiden Hutchinson. Hutchinson was at 14.5% pass rush win rate, and George Karlaftis was at 10.9%. And
what number in the draft?
29th, right? Pick number 29.
Yeah, he was 29.
Compared to
I've been very happy with him. He's kind of hit my expectations personally. I had a second round grade on him personally. I thought he was kind of a low first round, high second round, and I have to admit I thought he was more of a 3-4 outside linebacker. But I think he's played excellent this year. When I saw this, I was very surprised. I couldn't understand the logic, and I thought I'd ask you guys. What do you guys think? Because maybe I have a different opinion, but I think you nailed it. I'm not familiar with that guy personally, but if I see a stupid comment on Twitter, I just mute him just instantly. Oh, you said something stupid? I'm done. And
I'm in trouble.
What number was Hutchinson though?
He was 2.
Yeah. So overall, out of all the players, Karlaftis ranked 47th overall. And so, that was 2 weeks ago, but he was ahead of Kayvon Thibodeau and even Trayvon Walker. Walker was the number 1 overall pick, correct?
Yeah.
Right. Who has a 7.9% pass rush win rate. So, I think part of it, if it's not that one extreme of, I was expecting, more than 10 sacks because so-and-so said, he was going to do it. I guess part of it could be, part of the reason they're putting him inside is because of his motor and he has burst. And so they're doing what a smart coaching staff should do. Thank you, Joe Colin. They're doing what a smart coaching staff should do, and they're taking a raw player who doesn't have all those defensive line, doesn't have all those edge moves to beat guys in his rookie season and putting him inside where he doesn't have to have them. And at the same time, if he's next to Jones at the same time, Jones is getting double or triple, blocked here. But if Jones is out on the edge and the other guys are there, they can get the quick penetration. If Jones gets the quick edge penetration, with Karlaftis not giving up, the quarterback could go right to Karlaftis. So, I could see, I wouldn't call him a bust, but I could see some arguments people would make. Because I think it, in some ways, it kind of comes back to kind of like the CEH thing of people hated the pick and they hate Spag's specification for defensive linemen. And I think they're taking a lot out of it, a lot of their anger on Spags out on George Karlaftis. I don't think it's fair. I think it's always stupid to call a player a bust in their first season.
Yeah, I agree completely. Let's let the kid play. But I've been very impressed with Karlaftis. I really like the player, and I like the way he's been playing. I've been very happy with him. So when I saw that, I was like, "What this? Are they seeing something I'm not seeing?" Because I've been more than impressed. I like Karlaftis quite a bit, even though I had There was other players I would have liked, but I'm very happy with what we got. And this has been an excellent draft, phenomenal draft, one of the best drafts in recent Chiefs history. Hopefully, this next draft is going to be awesome as well. So
they sound like a hack to me, Dan.
Sound like, yeah. Well, Holly's right. There are some idiots out there on social media. I have a very low tolerance, so.
Well, I'm surprised I haven't gotten blocked in yet, Dan.
No, you know, it's funny. Okay, so like we don't always go on each other's show, but we send messages on Twitter, and I love getting messages from Keas. He always sends me some really great stuff, so I can't block him. I love Keas' Twitter account. It's one of my favorites. You have some good stuff, and you get involved with arguing with people a lot more than I do. But there's been several.
I try not to.
There's been several times you've argued with somebody and you have a really good point. I look at their Twitter account and I'm like, mute. There's been several times you pointed out people that I should mute on social media. So you're definitely one of my favorites.
That's why we don't talk.
Well, hey, listen.
You know, I don't even think I follow you on social media. So if you're on any social, well, let me rephrase that. I don't do TikTok, but I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and different people I follow on different social media platforms. With Keas, it's Twitter. There's a few guys I follow just on Instagram, and a few. Facebook's becoming more and more just useless.
I'm out there. I don't know so much about on it.
Now, I thought you were going to start doing short TikTok videos for gambling, just like really quick.
I thought about it, and I've been against it. I've been doing some shorts on YouTube. That's been kind of like a popular thing. So I've been doing more and more shorts on YouTube. But I just something about TikTok just kind of rubs me the wrong way, and maybe I just need to get on it and start.
Everybody in the comments, let us know, should Dan be on TikTok? Let us know what you think.
I'm
guessing our audience probably isn't even on TikTok, but maybe they are.
Only $29.99 for the X-rated version. You know, it's well
now
worth
he's talking about OnlyFans, I think.
I'm promoting my OnlyFans.
All right, yeah, it's probably time to get to sleep, huh? Good call, Holly.
Yeah, Holly says that Dan should get on TikTok.
I've never even gone around it, so like maybe I should. I know Jeffy and Holly said so I got the boss and Holly saying I should. Maybe I should. Are you guys on TikTok at all? I don't think Keas is.
I am, but I haven't
really.
I haven't done videos. I'm on there, and part of it, I like watching videos, but one of my favorite TikTok follows starting recently has been RG3. He started doing breakdowns. He started doing breakdowns on TikTok, and now Ted Nguyen, the guy I was talking about earlier, is starting to break down. There's probably other ones, but at least those guys are on there. So it sounds like everybody in the chat who's still with us is saying Dan should get on TikTok.
You know, that's not a bad idea. Actually, I would love to see that. I like it when ex players break stuff down.
I think it would be great, Dan, if you got on TikTok after each one of your showers, after you're dressed, of course, and just said, shower number one is out of the way, and then as the game progresses, we can go back at the end of it and we can watch 5 TikToks from Dan where he's kind of did a little video diary. Shower number 2 is done. I double put on deodorant. I put on both the dry and the gel this time. Just progressively.
Change clothes just for some extra good luck. And when I get on TikTok, it's not going to be Dan Talks Football. It's going to be Danny Showers. And I just need like some 70s porn music, that I can't even do it right now.
Grow the mustache.
I can't grow facial hair. I really can't. It's strange. I'm 48, but I have like the facial hair of like a 12-year-old. It's really weird. It comes in different shapes and sizes, and it's like, it's really goofy. The less hair I have, the better. Yeah.
Well,
all hair. Yeah.
Before we go into the final, everyone finishing their final thoughts, we might be done. I'm not sure, but since we were talking about it and segueing, I will say this though. One of my favorite Twitter followers it is actually an AP writer who covers the Raiders, and his name's like Josh Dubo. And Dan, you should know because I sent you his link. I think Gooch and Aaron, I think I sent you guys. I told you guys about him too. Like this guy, he basically trashes Raiders fans all day long. Like Yeah, he would be what one of us would be if we were covering the Raiders and we didn't want to cover the Raiders. Like if you made Dan cover the Raiders on Twitter and he didn't want to, instead of muting them, it's this guy just goes back and forth. They say something, he puts, all right, here's the numbers, here's the facts to point out to them how stupid they are. And so as a Chiefs fan, like this is all day long, right? And because he doesn't have the fandom blinders on. He just puts the straight facts out there, which is why I love following him, because it drives the Raider fan base crazy. So if you guys are on Twitter, I would just encourage you to follow him, because it's great, because the Raiders fans melt down and he covers the Raiders. So, I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. Lachlan's with us. Yeah, he says, thank you, Joe Cullen. Chris Jones, defensive MVP. You guys believe that? Are we buying Joe Cullen being the reason for Chris Jones being a little bit better this year, not taking off as many plays, the defense already having more sacks than we had last season? It seems like second half adjustments have been great. And a lot of those adjustments have been defensive line adjustments, specifically defensive line adjustments to stop the run. Do we give that credit to Colin? Do we give it to Spags? Both? What do you guys think?
Well, Colin deserves a lot of credit. That was a really underrated move we did this offseason, bringing him in from Jacksonville. He's a well-respected coach. I don't remember if he was the defensive coordinator in Jacksonville last year or if he was just brought in from Baltimore, but this is a really, really underrated, very good signing. And remember I brought up earlier where you put Karlaftis at the nose and you move Chris Jones outside. That's a brilliant move. It's normally a 3-man front when they do that, and I don't know if that's something from. I'm giving Colin probably the majority of the credit here, because that's something that Baltimore did for a long time when he was with Wink Martindale, is get very creative with that scheme. So I'm giving Colin a lot of credit for that. And I'm also giving Chris Jones a lot of credit. By the way, Chris Jones is also playing for a new contract, and he might be trying to get that money. This is probably like going to be his final like mega big contract. And, we've seen it happen before, Justin Houston, for example. So that's part of it.
So, yes, last year, Joe Cullen was the defensive coordinator in Jacksonville, and that's following 8. Well, let's see. In the NFL, before that, he'd been a defensive line coach since 2010. Spent some time with the Jags as their defensive line coach, a year with the Browns, 2 years with the Buccaneers, and 5 years with the Ravens as their defensive line coach, and then was the Jags defensive coordinator. Last year, contract year is undefeated, says Hefe. Technically not contract year. Chris Jones does have one more year, but it's like a $30 million cap hit, which all but guarantees they got to do something in this offseason, whether it's an extension of some sort. I can't imagine they would ever cut him. So I would think your only two options are you extend him or you trade him.
We've talked about this before, is that, we also have to figure out what to do with Orlando Brown after this year. His contract, is something that's kind of an albatross on the Chiefs all season. So, I think this season we're going to try to find a way to, rework Chris Jones' contract, get him an extension, get something very creative. And Chris Jones, I think, is 29. So, we're getting kind of peak Chris Jones. So that's going to be kind of tricky because we want to extend him. We're going to pay him a lot, but we don't want him at 33 making, $45 million or something ridiculous like that either. So Holly says he's going to be extended. I completely agree.
Yeah, he'll turn 29 next July before the season starts. Aaron Donald how old is Aaron Donald?
He's 31, I think.
I think it's helped Jones that he's basically continued an upward trajectory. But yeah, is this year the peak? Are we going to hit a plateau? Or what? Aaron Donald will be 32 at the start of next season. So he's got what, 4 years, 3 years on.
Well, remember he
Jones,
flirted with retirement this off season for a couple days. He was thinking about, well, if I don't get Von Miller and OBJ, I'm going to retire. And then Von Miller signed to Buffalo, and he's like, oh, I was just kidding. And but I mean, that's another interesting situation. What's Aaron Donald going to do? Because this cap number, I think, is like something crazy next year. It's like somewhere between 40 and 50 million. It's just nuts. If we got enough time, I want to touch base on Holly's comment right there. You're 2/3 right. Kelsey's going to be 30. Kelsey's 34. He's not going to be the Chiefs' long-term plans. He's probably going to be out of the NFL in the next 2 to 3 years. It actually wouldn't surprise me if the Chiefs win a Super Bowl, if Kelsey just wants to hang it up and enjoy his years outside the NFL. But as far as being the plans for the Chiefs long-term, that's not going to happen. If you think you're going to get 5 years of Kelsey, you're not. So
he's not slowed down yet.
No, his play is phenomenal. He's one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. And yes, I did call him a wide receiver. I don't think he's really a tight end. He's called a tight end in name only. Chiefs use him like wide receiver very smartly, and I think that's part of what has extended his career. But is he going to be a Chief for the next 5 years? No, he's probably entering the twilight of his career.
Well,
please like, share, subscribe, comment your score for the game.
Yeah, I think to Dan's point, I think it kind of depends. I think that for Travis to have a longer career, and especially to have a longer career in Kansas City, it would take a few things, and one of those would be Travis caring more about like long-term legacy, because at some point he would have to be making pennies on the dollar, and he would have to be willing to be tight end number 2. And his use in our offense, what you would see happen, he wouldn't be 1,000-yard receiver anymore, because as he gets older, he's going to lose that yak ability. But where he would still be a beneficial player to keep on the team, as he fits in the salary cap as a number 2 tight end, is how much smarter he is than most every other player on the football field.
Player coach
and
already.
It doesn't matter how old he gets. Oh, there goes Aaron. Doesn't matter. Last man standing. Let's see who it is. It doesn't matter how old he gets. He understands where to find the soft spot in the zone. So unless teams just started completely playing him man as he got older, in which case you could use him as a decoy. I think that as a number 2 who knows how to find the soft spots in the zone, who you can count on for 5 to 7 yards at a time, no longer able to give you those yak yards as he hits age, 35, 36. I think he still has, some ability and some benefit there. Thinking about Tony Gonzalez and Antonio Gates as they got older, there's still some benefit there, but it's certainly not at 10, 12, $15 million. And it's certainly not expecting tight end number 1 or wide receiver number 1 volume. So that would be what I would say there. That I would think that would have to be the path. Tight end number 2, and you can't make, I don't know, $5-7 million at most, as you hit that age 35, 36 season. I think that would be the only path for Travis to stay here after the next couple of years. And it could, because of Travis and Pat's relationship, right? It could happen. It would really kind of depend on how much longer Travis wants to play, though, in my opinion. So, Dan, I'm going to let you, if you want to rebut any of that, you can. Otherwise, everybody's dropping like flies here. So I'm going to send us out here if you don't have any rebuttal to that or anything you want to add to it.
No, it's I think we should just enjoy Kelsey while he's here. I mean, we're looking at future Hall of Famer,
right?
Greatest whoever lived, and I think there's going to be a 30 for 30 on Mahomes and Kelsey one of these days, and I can't wait to watch it. It's just a matter of time. Let's just enjoy this, and let's enjoy a great season. Lackland says 15-2, and I see it. I see it as well. I think that this is just a great season. I love being a Chiefs fan for a Sunday to get here.
I'll go with 14-3 because I think we're going to lose a
game day, game time. I can't wait for another. Was it 13 hours before the game starts? I'm jacked up for it. So
right, yeah, man, I love noon games because I can wake up and I don't have to wait that long to watch the Chiefs play. But and I know our overseas fans love it because I think, because they don't have to wake up at like 2 a.m. or 5 or 6 a.m. like they do these ridiculous night games and stuff. But anyway, everyone enjoy your night or early morning now for most of us, and late morning as we wait for the Chiefs and the Rams to play. Hopefully, as we have our post-game reaction, we can all celebrate, and hopefully we can all celebrate a heart-healthy win. Lord knows we need a heart-healthy win here, which would be a nice 20, 30-point win, or at least feeling like the game was never in doubt. So on behalf of Gooch and Aaron and myself, we are the BAK Talk Bros, and want to thank Dan again for jumping on here with us. Make sure you check out Dan Talks Football on YouTube Tuesdays and Friday nights at 7 p.m. Dan's also on Twitter as well, and as you heard him say, Instagram, Facebook, and soon he will be on on TikTok. Look for Danny Showers on TikTok for all your betting news and shower videos. So all that said, make sure you guys hit the like button, subscribe if you're not a subscriber, and leave us a comment after this show. Let us know your score prediction, and we'll see who's close, and maybe someone will be right. So all that said, everybody have a great night, and we'll see you next time.
You got your team, and we got a kingdom. Ready for war, we score at will. We're the Super Bowl champs, the king of